to the frequency. I am here. We're going to discuss the frequency of the day as inspired by the Dream Spell Matrix, and we're also going to have Bible study. So, again, today is coded by the white self existing world bridger. Let me pull my pants up because they're falling down. Okay. And the last phrase of the daily affirmation frequency is I am guided by the power of spirit. Did it say you're guided by your offense? Are you guided by your preferences today? Did it say that? Nope. It said I'm guided by the power of spirit. And if you don't know what spirit, right, no. If you don't know whether it's spirit or you and such, check how it feels. Spirit feels expansive. Spirit feels truth. Spirit feels free and grounded, right? You feel offended, contracted, aggravated, irritated, and all of that. So you are guided by the power of spirit. Spirit causes you to enhance, to elevate, to expand, okay? So if you're all contracted while you're doing something or saying something, reconsider it today. Look at what you're doing, why you're doing it. Look at where that pattern comes from and shift it. I'm talking to some people who want to elevate, not the ones that are okay where they are. This is for a certain type of individual, okay? Now, we are on day 7 or plasma 7 of the electric moon. And remember, at the beginning of this moon, we committed to integration. Last month, we were purifying our speech by taking on a practice of minding what we say. Now we're going deeper in this electric moon. We're going into integration, which is minding what you believe. There's a scripture that says all things are possible to he who believes. So what you believe matters. It's not possible because you think it. It's possible because you believe it. Because you could think a bunch of thoughts that you don't believe, but there are only a few thoughts that you do believe. So be mindful of what you believe and how you believe. And also, here's the other scripture that says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So yeah, you can watch what you say and you can change your words, but it's really out of the abundance of your heart you're speaking. So you could say, oh no, I didn't mean it like that. Oh no, you spoke out of the abundance of your heart. Your heart is abundant in those words, in those thoughts of that frequency. And you can't help but speak out of the abundance of your heart. So that's why now you're going to pay attention to what you're saying, not to stop saying it, but to find out what's in your heart. And if you find out what's in your heart, then you can shift it. But if you don't know what's in your heart because you're in denial, you don't even hear what you're saying, other people hear it. They know your heart better than you do a lot of times. So what we're going to do is find out what is in the abundance of your heart. You know how you know what's in the abundance of your heart? How you react, how you respond, how you interpret things. That's what's abundant in your heart. And that's not for you to feel condemned or bad. That's for you to be empowered to shift it. I want my heart full of other things. So what you gonna do? You're gonna fill your heart of more of the things that you don't want through what you read, through the music you listen to, through what you watch, through the people you tolerate. Are you gonna fill your heart more abundantly with the stuff that you don't like when you hear it coming out of your mouth? Or are you going to plug into some divine thoughts, some divine utterance, some wisdom, some truth? Because you may think, oh, it's just a song. It's not just a song. You're filling yourself up with the content of the song. It's not just a movie. It's not just a show. And you might think so, but I'm telling you, it's not. Now, that's up to you how you want to navigate that. That's up to you whether or not you want to do something about it. Because when you start speaking like the music you hear, when you start reacting like the things that you read, when you start responding like the things that you see, then you realize I really have been filling my heart up with this. Okay? So This is integration. This is a deep thing. This is a spiritual practice, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for people who need to be seen a certain way or see themselves a certain way. It's for a group of individuals who are saying, it doesn't matter to me what I find within myself. I'm going to shift it if it's not good for me. I'm going to keep and enhance it if it is good for me. And that's just a commitment to self-care. Self-care is more than bubble baths and wearing perfume and cologne and oil. It's more than dressing your body and doing your hair and your nails and all of this stuff. It's more than sitting in the park. It's more than sitting on the ground. Self-care also is tending to your inner verse, because your inner stance determines how you see the world. It determines how people treat you too. You ever ran across a person with such an energy that people just don't play with them, but they play with you and you wonder why? There's a reason for it. Okay, so that's the frequency we're on. It's the World Bridger. The World Bridger is not a soft type of, oh, change if you want energy. The World Bridger comes to bring you into the next space of you. The World Bridger comes to tug at your heart and say, come this way. You've been going that way for too long. It's time to go here. The World Bridger is a firm presence. The World Bridger reminds me of Santa Muerte. Okay? It's not gentle, oh, do it if you want to. It's your truth. It's not like that. When you are led by spirit, you don't have all of that. Well, it's my truth, and I'm just doing this because that's not spirit, okay? It's a firmer energy, and today we're being guided by spirit. So I challenge you, before you eat, be guided by spirit. Before you drink, be guided by spirit. I was ordering my coffee, and I went to order my regular one. And then Spirit said, order just the black coffee and add what you want. What I want is just some oat milk and cinnamon, right? And I could have stopped and been like, why? Ain't nothing wrong with this. I already checked. And that's what Spirit said. I don't know why. I don't need to know. I'm just going to do it. If Spirit said, don't sit there, sit here, I'm going to do it. And I think I told y'all about how important that is, right? So, what was it, Saturday? I decided I was going to go to the park and shoot some content. And so I had various places that I could have gone, but I felt led to go to the park that I was at. Now, I'm setting up the phone, realizing that all kind of things are happening. The internet is not working, it's not clear, the phone is heating up, it's the wrong angle, it's slowing down, all of this stuff. But I said, I need to be here for some reason, and I didn't know why. I just continued. So on my way out of the park, there were these two little girls who had these little puppies. And I was just drawn to them. So I just said, oh, what kind of dog is that? And they told me. And then I started talking to their mom. And then I asked the mom, did you buy them locally? Now, here's the backstory to that. Months ago, my daughter was manifesting a dog. She was really getting into the energy of it. And I told her to stay in that energy, because you never know, someone can come giving you a dog. That's what I said, right? So that's the backstory. So now fast forward to this past Saturday. I talked to their mom and I was like, did you buy them locally? Because I'm checking it out, because I know my daughter likes dogs. And the mom said, no, their dad actually has a litter that he's trying to get rid of. I said, for how much? She said, he's giving them away. He's giving them away. So I went straight to the car and I called her dad to check to see if he was going to be supportive of it. He said he would. And I went back, gave my information, and made sure we got that dog. I went to the park to get that dog. I thought I went to the park to shoot some content, be led by spirit. And again, how do you know you're being led by spirit? Sometimes you don't have a reason for what you're doing. You just feel like you need to do it. Okay? You feel drawn and led. But when you feel contracted, fear, offended, scared, resentful, tired, then that is not spirit. That is you asking for you to pay attention to you. You're not going to act off of that today, okay? Ashe, yes, it's the sweet grandbaby. When I walked out the door this morning, I called him Sugar Plum. I said, come here, Sugar Plum. And he came trotting to the side. He's so tiny and so cute. All right, Ashe, Ashe. So that's the frequency we're on today. Let's get to the Bible study. I'm reading from Jeremiah, the first chapter, beginning with the 4th verse. Okay, so just backstory as according to the Bible. I'm not talking about the origin of the Bible right now. I'm talking about the Bible as the Bible states. Jeremiah was a son of one of the priests. Okay, Jeremiah was a son of one of the priests. And I want you to park at that and realize that you are of a holy priesthood. What does that mean for you? I'm not saying you have to walk around thinking that you come from a lineage of kings and queens. That's not it. But a priesthood, in fact, let's look it up because it's coming to me like this. I decided right before I clicked on what I was going to read because I didn't want it to be pre-contemplated today. Okay? So let's look up a priesthood because while I'm on this sacred journey of becoming, I've had several initiations, right, into priestessing. And so right now, though, I'm not talking about the priestessing that requires you to go through a path. I'm talking about the priesthood or priestessing that you are being initiated to in the sacredness of your inner world. That's what I'm talking about. In the sacredness of your inner world. If you knew that you were a priest of your inner world, if you knew that you were a priestess of your inner world, how would you behave? What would you allow in your temple? I'm asking a question. Now, let me look up priest, okay? Hold on one second. A priest is a spiritual leader. You're a spiritual leader of your innerverse. A spiritual leader authorized to perform sacred rituals of spirituality is a mediatory agent between humans and one or more deities. They also have the authority or power to administer spiritual rites, in particular rites of sacrifice to and propitiation of a deity or deity. In Ifa, the deity of you is called your Ori. Okay, that's your head. Your Ori. You are of the priesthood of your Ori, your inner world. You decide what comes in, what goes out. You decide how you see things. You decide how you do things. And you do it according to the level of your priesthood, right? So if you see your inner verse as sacred, then you treat it as such. You do the sacred rites and rituals, right? Hey, Lily, are you satanic? I'm a witch. No, I'm not satanic. But I'm pretty sure we have a lot in common. Okay. So let's read now. I went all around the block because we're not just talking about Jeremiah. Jeremiah is an archetype of you. You are of a holy priesthood, right? And maybe you didn't go through any initiations of a organized religion. You go through your self-initiations. You rise to the occasion and you up-level within yourself spiritually, energetically, right? And you govern your innerverse from a particular stance. Now, let's read. And the word of God came to me saying, that's Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. This is God speaking. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before you were human, before you took on a body. Let me know when I'm back because my phone rang. My phone just rang and kicked me off. Let me know when I'm back. Let me know when I'm back. Greetings, y'all. Okay. So what you is being spoken of right here, because if you think that you're your body, then how can you be known without a body? How can you be known without a brain? How can you be you before you were formed in your mother's womb? What you are we talking about? Well, I'm going to ask you, when you say I this or I that, what I are you talking about? Well, most people are talking about their mind. But your mind is associated with your brain, and your brain is associated with being human. So you think, for example, when people don't like your ideas and people don't like what you said and people don't like what you did, that they don't like you because you closely identify with your human body. And let me give you, let me make this real clear. I love this human body. I'm not going to diminish it by calling it, what are the things that people call it? Hold on a second. What do they call it? I get a little tinge of dissonance when I hear these terms. It can't come to my mind. I must not need it. What do y'all call this human suit? But it's not a human suit. Whatever it is, I am in dissonance with it, because this body that is infused with my consciousness, oh, that's it, the meat suit. Every time I hear somebody say that, I'd be like, see, this is why you treat it like you treat it. And usually when I've heard spiritual people talk about it, they're talking about the low vibration of it. And yes, it is a dense vibration, but it's a beautiful vibration. It's the vibration that allows me, the us, to experience this realm. this outer covering, this, what do we want to call it? This, I rather human suit than meat suit. When I think about a meat suit, you know what I think about? I think about a cow carcass in a butcher shop going around the thing, just not alive. Meat suit. It's so diminishing. That's the way that I see it, right? So I refuse to diminish my body and call it that. My body is a wonder. There's a scripture that says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works. So why? I don't know. I just have dissonance with it because it's not the way I see myself. That's why I eat a certain way. That's why I drink a certain way. That's why I move a certain way, because this is a temple. It's not a meat suit. It's a temple. Now, that's my perspective, because in my priesthood, where I dwell and what I tend to is sacred. So I'm not going to just treat it any kind of way and call it any kind of thing, because when I want it to heal, now I got to deprogram what I done called it and what it responds to and acts like. Okay, so the word of God came to me saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Is this making sense? Before you did anything, said anything, learned any language, messed up, said the wrong thing, failed, whatever, hey Daph, I knew you. And here's the kicker. Before you were born, I set you apart. Before you were born, I set you apart. You didn't get set apart because you got some education. You didn't get set apart because a group of people ordained you. You didn't get set apart because you performed so excellently in every spiritual practice. Before you were born, before you could do any of that, you were set apart. You know, let me read to you from this Kemetic study. Are y'all taking this in? Because don't just, you know how people go in church and they be hearing a good word and they come out and go back to the same thought process? They hear a good word and then they go out and continue doing the same things. I want to offer you a transformational message that you can't just walk away doing the same thing because you realize it's not part of you. It's not for real, okay? So in Kemet, we have something called a Ka, K-A. I'm trying to elevate you, right? Elevate your mind to meet the you that was there before you were formed in your mother's womb. That's why I always say you got to know what you are, not who you are. Who you are changes. Who you are depends on what you decide, how other people see you, what word is available, what label is available. Who you are is in relationship to other people, right? But what you are is the infinite, indestructible part of you that existed before this body temple existed, and it will exist after. I hope you're listening to that. So in Kemet, known as ancient Egypt, Ka, K-A, is the vital life force or spiritual double that is born with a person. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Your Ka is born with you and continues to exist after death, okay? We're talking about some spiritual terms here. So what you is being talked about right here? Take a guess. See, in Christianity, in the Western spirituality, we don't have words for these. We just have spirit. We just have soul, right? But even in yoga, we have sheaths, we have subtle bodies, right? Spirit, right? And then there's Ba. Your Ba is depicted, I don't want to read that, I want to read what it is to you. The Ba is a crucial part of the soul that needs to be reunited with the Ka, life force, and the body to achieve a blessed afterlife. Ba embodies an individual's distinct qualities, personality, and character. Let's put this together. So if Ka is, let's say, this circle right here, that's Ka, that's you. And then the more specific you is Ba. Your Ba is what accumulates experiences as you live, okay? So you have your Ka, which is you, and you have your Ba, which holds your experiences. And your Ba, Ka, and body reunite after death, okay? Reunite. That's Kemetic study. But the reason I wanted to say that is because you keep identifying with some kind of label and getting really upset about it, and it's not even real. It's just an artifact of living with other people that helps us communicate. What would you do if you lived in some other country that didn't have a word for that? What would you do? Get upset because they don't have a word? Would you cease to exist because they don't have a word? Let's say the word woman. I'm a woman, and somebody be like, "You're not a woman." Yes, I am a woman. But in another culture, let's say they don't even acknowledge woman. What you gonna do when you go there? Have an identity crisis and find out another word? The word of God came to me saying, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." Here's a question. What do you feel appointed to? Don't answer that right now, because I'm not looking for what you know. I want to encourage you to go deeper into what you don't know about yourself. I want you to go deeper and discover something else. So what do you need to do with that question? Just take it with you and ask it. What am I appointed to? Maybe you sit down and do a sort of subconscious activity where you take a paper and a pen and you write, I'm appointed to, and you just write until no more words come and then look at it. Okay? That's another way. You may receive the answer in a dream. You may receive the answer by someone walking up to you and giving you a word for something you didn't know there was a word for, or a role that you didn't know there was a role for, or something like that. So I'm asking you, what are you appointed to? Do not answer that from your current mind. Go deeper. The purpose of this is not for me to tell you what your mind already knows and to say you're not doing it. That's not it. You must need another piece to move into whatever it is that you're trying to do that's not being done yet. But you judge yourself and you call it all kind of stuff. And I know it because I used to do it to myself too. I would call it lazy. I would call it procrastination. I would beat up on myself. You're not doing what you know you should do. When I was in Christianity, I was told that I should stop sitting on my gift because God would take it. And if I didn't act on it, then God would give it to someone else. All this lack-mindedness. But here's what I know about this existence. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, because everything is done in divine timing, in divine orchestration. So if it's not done, and if it's not being done, and if it's not here, then it's not time for it. Now, it might be time in 5 minutes and 2 months and tomorrow, but it's not time right now, because if it was time, it would be here if you believe in divine timing. So can you stop beating up on yourself? Can you stop being hard on yourself because you didn't start this or that? Hey, Mondre, can you stop beating up on other people and judging them? Can you understand that everything is in divine time more deeply? They didn't even do this, and they didn't even do that, and they didn't even. Well, they must not need to. Now, what do you need to be doing right now? Here's a question, all right? So what are you appointed to? Jeremiah was appointed as a prophet. I'm asking you to be a priest in your own inner world, a mediator between the divine consciousness and your human consciousness as it exists today. That's what I mean as a priesthood. You're the mediator, you, of your consciousness. And this is what Jeremiah said, alas, I do not know how to speak. I'm too young. I love this. Haven't you said that before? I can't do that. I'm too this. I'm too that. Well, it might be true. Let me know if my connection is clear because it said it's unstable. This is too good to risk it. Okay, so some people think that God's answer is just do it. But that's not God's answer. Sometimes you feel you're not this or not that because you need to acquire that or realize that or get a skill, right? Because too many people take this to mean just go do it. There are some things you do need to do, and then there's some stuff that requires skill. For example, if you want to be a doctor, then you need to go to medical school and be the doctor. You was appointed before you went to medical school. You were set apart before you went to medical school, but you still need to go to medical school, okay? So there's some skills that you have to acquire at times, right? So you use that as a building block, something to build you up. When I first started in group fitness, I said, I don't have any rhythm. So it drove me to feel songs and absorb the rhythm inside of me, because the way that I heard music at that time was rhythmless in a sense, okay? So that part was true. It drove me to do something about it. When you feel like you're appointed to something, but you're not this or not that or to this or to that, you need to be built up. Sometimes being built up is a skill. Sometimes being built up is remembering where you are, who you are, and what you have been given already. It just depends on the situation. So I'm not sitting here saying you want to therapize people, so just go do it. No, you do need to get some skill, right? I'm not saying go be a doctor. I'm not saying just go jump and start practicing on people. I'm saying do something about it, right? So here's what God said. Jeremiah said, I'm too young. But God said, do not say I'm too young. Don't say that. Don't say you're too young, because I put my word in your mouth. You got it already. That's why God is encouraging Jeremiah like this. There's some stuff that you do already every day that you're really good at. That's the stuff you need to just go do, right? But there's some other stuff where you're realizing, I need more skill. I need more knowledge. I need more expertise. Go do that. Do not say I'm too young. You must go to everyone I send to you and say whatever I command you. You are already empowered because I already put it in you, right? Do you see that? So God is not just saying, just go be a prophet. God is saying, you're already a prophet and I already put my words in your mouth. Now go say that. Go do that. And don't keep ruminating on the self-limitation. What are your limitations that you impose on yourself? There are some limitations because, like I said, I can't just go walk up into a surgical facility and say I'm about to perform surgery, right? There's an initiation to be a surgeon. But there's some stuff you already been initiated into, and you're sitting there going, well, I need this and I can't, and I need that, and as soon as I get this, I'm gonna do that. As soon as I get that, I'm gonna do that. I used to do that until I realized where it relates to social media, all I need is my phone and me. I don't need a microphone. I don't need no lighting. I don't even need a stand. That's the stance that I take in homeschooling. I don't go like, I need this curriculum and I need that and I need that. I took a very simple method from a seasoned homeschooler. She said, all you need is a stick and sand to homeschool. You can write and draw and teach with a stick and sand. That's what you need to get used to. And I said, okay. And it's been true. And I'm giving that wisdom to you. All you need is your phone, and it doesn't matter if your phone needs to be upgraded, because at this point, even the phones that need upgrade have a decent camera. You have the sun, the ancient sun, as the greatest lighting source you could ever have. Go outside and sit down and make sure the sun is shining behind the camera and record. That's it. Use a water bottle, prop it up. You don't want to go live because you don't know what to say. Well, can I tell you, let me give you a secret. If you plug into spirit often enough, you will not be looking for something painful in order to talk about it, something triggering to talk about it. The majority of people on social media rely on their contraction to get them to talk. They're talking about some breakup. They're talking about who did them wrong. They're talking about who messed up and who didn't deserve them. They can only talk from pain, but you need to learn how to talk from expansion, and that comes from self-development. Talk about what you live. Talk about what you breathe. Talk about what you know, right? God said, I already put my word in your mouth. So anyway, do not be afraid of them. See, I know you think you're too young and you feel intimidated, but God said, don't be afraid of them, for I'm with you. Spirit is with you and will rescue you. Now, you might say, yeah, but that's because you've never been supported by spirit, maybe. Because when you know that spirit is backing you, you will become so bold and so courageous and so beautifully successful. You'll be doing stuff you never thought you could do before and amazed at yourself. Like, dang, I did that. Dang, I said that. Oh my God. When you know that spirit is with you, you get a different level of confidence, right? He says, For I am with you and will rescue you. Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I've appointed you over nations. Is Jeremiah over nations right now? No. He's appointed over nations, though, and kingdoms. To do what? To uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. Listen to this. And then God said, what do you see, Jeremiah? Because God wants to know about his perspective. Because I could tell you the truth till the cows come home, but I got to see if you can see with the lens of truth. Because I just told you something real profound, God said. I say that often. I just said something profound. Now I need to know how you see it. God engaged in a conversation with Jeremiah. Why can't you engage with conversations with people who are coming up and growing, right? Who want it. I'm talking about the ones that want it. The ones that don't want it, I'm not saying talk to them. But there's some people who really want to do a thing, but they have these questions. They have these thoughts, these fears, and they need to be addressed. So listen, I think my battery is about to die, but I'm going to try to get this part in. Am I clear? Y'all not tapping the screen? Y'all not saying nothing? If my family goes out, if my phone goes out, I'm going to come back on my other phone. And then God said to me, what do you see, Jeremiah? I see the branch of an almond tree, I replied. In other words, I see what's right in front of me. Some people don't see very deeply. They just see right in front of them. They say, I see a tree. If you ask them to look in the mirror and tell them what they see, tell you what they see, they'll just be like, I see a girl, a woman, I see. I remember I did that in therapy once. The therapist put a mirror in front of me and asked me, what do I see? And I was like, I don't know how you want me to answer it. I see myself. In other words, look deeper. It's not just this and just that, right? When you want a deeply fulfilling life, you have to see deeply. You have to know deeply. You have to inquire deeply, right? And so the Lord said, you've seen correctly, for I am watching to see that my word is fulfilled. Then God said, what do you see? He asked him again, something else. I'm trying to bring you somewhere. What do you see? How do you see what I just said? How do you see what I've put in front of you? I think this is a really beautiful example of how to minister to people. Also, how are you taking what I'm saying? How did you take that? How are you seeing it? How did you hear that? Right? Because I'm trying to see if I need to go farther, if I need to clarify, or if I need to stop. Right? Here it is. You have, let's see, what do you see? Jeremiah said, I see a pot that is boiling. I answered, it is tilted toward us from the north. And God said to me, from the north, disaster will be poured out on all who live in the land, and I am about to summon all the peoples of the northern kingdoms, declares the Lord. Nature can speak to you. This dew on this water can speak to you if you want to be spoken to. The clouds can speak, and they do speak. The sun can speak, and it does speak. The sounds around you speak. But you have to stop seeing it as just a tree. It's just a conversation. It's just a word. It's just whatever. It's always deeper. And you are being invited by the divine to take in life more deeply, not more suspiciously, more deeply, more profoundly, more sacredly, right? And so I'll pause right there. Did this speak to you in any kind of way? Let me know. Greetings, Skywalker. Did this speak to you in any kind of way? I want to come back and continue to talk about this because this is so beautiful to me, so deep to me, so necessary for spiritual development, for growth, to understand. There's so many layers in what I just read. Don't worry, I'll post it on YouTube. So listen, you have your ba and your ka and your body, all right? All of which are you. So I want you to pay attention today. When you say I this or that, what I are you talking about? And some people might say, I don't feel like doing all that. You don't feel like knowing which I you're talking about? When you say I'm cold, my body is saying that. When I feel offended, what is saying that? My ego, more than likely. Now I need to look and see, is that true? Is it based on truth, that belief? All of that matters. So let me go out. My battery is hanging on by a thread, and I give thanks. The ka is the life force or spiritual double, a static aspect of the soul that requires nourishment from offerings, while ba is the personality, the character, and the individuality. Okay? Death was understood as ka leaving the body. The ka and ba had to be reunited after death for proper funerary rites. Your ka is like the spirit that is an emanation of God. Your ba is more of the accumulation of your experiences, knowledge that you carry from lifetime to lifetime, if you believe that. You'll be wondering how you knew how to play the piano, how you knew how to knit. Somebody just put something in your hands and you start doing something and you wonder how you know your ba. Your ba. How you just so good at something before you even have formal training. How did you know that, your ba? So, that's it. There's some stuff where I could just read briefly, like scan it, and then do it. There's other stuff that I have to study step by step to learn how to do it, right? All of it is important. What are you appointed? Okay, I'm back. I switched phones. What are you appointed to do? You are to remember that. Let me take this out. You're going to pay attention to the things happening around you and inquire as to what they mean or what they're saying. Sometimes a tree blowing in the wind, right, is saying, look at me. For what? So you could feel something. It's not all mental. That clouds and blue sky back there, it keeps drawing your attention. It's saying, look at me. Why? So I can get some verbal message? Maybe not. Maybe so you could feel it. So you can have an experience with the elements. You feel the wind blowing on your face. You don't need to stop and go, what message is that bringing me? Just feel it. And that is a message. Do you believe that? Feeling, experiencing something is a message. Now, in my Divine Utterance group, we are following the cycles of the moon. And yesterday, or day before yesterday, we release some stuff. Okay? And the reason we release that stuff is so that we could have a different experience. The things that you hold you in the experience of those things, right? So, for example, historically, up until last year, I didn't like wintertime. It's too cold. It's too cold. It's too cold. That's what I say. I can't stand the cold. The cold, the cold, the cold. I would even grieve every time the equinox would come. There was a grief, a deep grief in my spirit. The feeling of fall would feel good, but then it would be dampened by the grief that summer. And then I would tell the narrative or the story. I would say, summer just left me. Summer just left me. And then last year, I decided to let that go. You're back in Ohio, right? I decided to let that go. I didn't want that experience anymore. I chose to let go of that narrative. I've been telling it my whole life. I didn't need it anymore. I decided to experience winter and the transition from summer into fall as it was, with no judgment of or comparison. I didn't want to suffer anymore. Sometimes we be attached to suffering. I say that all the time. I just wanted to be there. And guess what? I enjoyed the winter. What I'm saying is, when you release things that no longer serve you, you open up opportunities for new experience. What better reason to let go of this old stuff, this contraction, this, all of the stuff y'all know let that stuff go. I'm not even talking about anything that happened when you were 5 or the hard things that happened when you were 12. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the experiences you try to wiggle out of because you have a story to tell about it. You have a story to tell about how you like your hair. And when it's not like that, you tell that story and you experience the suffering. So you can't even come into the next iteration of yourself. You tell a story about bugs. We do that, right? Up until recently, my story about bees was I am okay with bees. It went from I'm scared of bees years ago to I'm okay with bees. I just don't want them around me, right? I decided I wanted to release that after that bee stung me. Because you know why? Saying I don't want bees around me caused me to react like that, and that aggravated the bee and it stung me. It took that as a threat. I don't want to keep that in my system anymore either. I'm well with bees. And so I want to practice, right, being well with them. I want to practice when they come close, not reacting according to that old story. I want another kind of experience. I'm that serious about how I feel. I'm that serious about my life. I want another experience. This isn't for anybody but me, right? So what the bee taught me is to move more gingerly. Stop being so reactive. Why was I reactive? Because of the story that I was telling. Up until recently, I had never been stung by a bee. I was just telling the story. Then last summer, not the one that just passed, the one before, a bee was around me. Remember, I was carrying the narrative, the energy of I don't want bees around me. So I'm buying a watermelon. I see a bee in my periphery. I'm in the energy of I don't want this bee around me. I didn't even flinch that time. Just some kind of way, the bee flew around and stung me on the inside of my arm, mind you. Why? I do not know what the bee perceived. But I do know that that was an encouragement to release that story. Because I can't stop bees from coming around. So holding the narrative was just taking up space. It wasn't stopping anything. It wasn't keeping me safe. Bees have been around and I've ran. Bees have been around and I flinched. Bees have been around and I stood still. And either way, bees are still around, right? And I know a lot of people don't like snakes. Now, I don't think that I want a snake in my lap or anything, you know what I'm saying? Unless it's a pet snake. But I just want to watch my narratives, because the narratives cause the reaction. Does that make sense? Can you find a narrative in you that you want to let go of, where that will allow you to have a different experience? Can you find one right now? Which one comes to mind? The story you tell about certain people, certain kinds of people. Ooh, I don't like that kind of people. I don't like them to talk to me, something like that. Do you want a different experience, or do you want to stay like that? So maybe you don't like a person that talks a particular way. Okay, no problem. Tell the narrative like this. I enjoy being around people who, right? If I know what you enjoy, I understand that most likely you don't like the opposite. So you don't have to act like you like some kind of thing that you don't like, but put your attention and narrative and brain space on what you enjoy, right? Sometimes I would look at people who liked bees. They wouldn't flinch, they wouldn't react. And I would plug into that, like, what makes them not be afraid? And the bee is not stinging them. I've seen people that allowed bees to crawl on their hand. The bee wasn't stinging them. So then I need to know what kind of mindset they have, because I want an experience where I'm not sitting there flinching or trying to manage because a bee is around. Right? You want change. Good deal. Right? So we got to look at the way we speak in the temple. Your body is a temple. You run to, I got tired of running. I got tired of running. And so I'm going to be practicing being in harmony with the bee. I got to practice. One time I went to the beach and I couldn't even enjoy the beach because the bees were around. And it looked like they were following me, right? Because I would get up from under the tent and go to the water. You let a bee, wow. That's it. What kind of mind do you have? I want to know. How did you allow the bee to do that? Now, I'm not really interested in a bee crawling on me. I just want to be okay when they're around, okay? But if it crawled, I would like to be empowered, okay? So at the beach, I would go to the water, and it's like they would follow me to the edge of the water and then fly away. And then I go back under the tent, and they would come back. And so I did this back and forth thing for a while. And I even asked the person I was with, do you see that? Like, am I making that up, or is that real? And she was like, no, that's happening. Because you see, they're not doing that to me. What is going on? A lesson? I want to know what kind of mind allows a bee to crawl on their finger. And I'm not saying you have to release every fear. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you want a different experience, there's something that can be done. When I was pregnant with my oldest son is 21. But when I was pregnant with him, I was held up by gunpoint one night as I was going into my apartment. And for a long, long time, I was afraid to go inside. At night especially, but during the day too. And so I would sit in my car and look around to see if anybody was outside, because I wanted people to be outside in order for me to feel safe. Yeah, trauma, absolutely. And for a while, if I dated someone, I wanted them to walk me inside or be there, meet me there so I could go inside. And that went on until about 7 years ago. I realized that there was a different story that needed to be told. Yes, that did happen to me. Yes, it was scary. It was insane. right? But the times that I have gone inside safely and the times that I've been held up by gunpoint, right, don't compare. And I continue to tell myself that each time I would get out the car. You've gone inside plenty of times and nobody was there. You've gotten out of this car plenty of times and nobody was there. You are safe now. You are safe now. But you are safe. So about 3 years ago, the gym asked me to teach a 5:30 a.m. class. So, it was time to put my safety to the test because it's still dark outside in the wintertime at 5:30 a.m. So the first few times I felt that fear, right? And I would scurry to the car, or I would call my mom and keep my mom on the phone while I got to the car. And then she would call me and be like, today is your 5:30 day. I'm going to be on the phone for a long while. And then one day I was like, I'm ready to release that story also of I need someone else. Am I saying we don't need anyone? No, I'm talking about how I came forward out of that, right? And so before long, I just started feeling safe. In fact, my mama started calling me like, you don't call me anymore. I don't feel scared anymore. And then over time, once I wasn't scared, the gym said, I'm dropping this class. Lessons, lessons. And I've been afraid many times in my life. And I face it every time. And you can face it too. Sometimes you need some help. Sometimes you need support. Sometimes you need a strategy. That's why I offer coaching. If you're new here, I do offer one-on-one coaching. You felt that? Yes. I offer one-on-one coaching on my website. You can sign up there. I have a podcast. I have books. I have a mentorship program that I'm running. I have a Divine Utterance. The second initiation is going on. I have a galactic timekeeping group on IG. Many ways that we can work together. Okay. So y'all good? Talk to me. What did you take from this message today? Just name one thing. I'm dealing with the loss of my younger sister last year. I'm stuck in the pain. Yeah, and grieving is a process, right? There are all these questions. Why did this happen? Why now? It wasn't supposed to be, things like that. I've been through that in my life. But there's a process to go through to assist us, right? And being stuck in the pain means that there's so much to glean from it, so much spirituality. Kai and Ba was interesting. The priesthood. Meat suit and human suit, yeah. I don't like diminishing my body at all. I want to read something to you from the Yoga Sutras right here. We're talking about seeds here because that fear of dogs was released with Leo. Ashe. Yes. Yes, Leo is a sugar plum bringing all his healing. Yes. So listen, on buried seeds. These are things that you think that are not things that you think are not affecting you. On watch what you take in, what you agree to, and things like that. So this is from the Yoga Sutras, right? And I like to give y'all other people's words so you can see this is not just my opinion, right? This is a spiritual path and a spiritual practice. Buried seeds can still come into the conscious mind when the proper opportunity is given and pull you into that experience. That's why, and it lists some stages, that's why these 4 stages should be passed and you should get to Samdhi, where even the ego feeling is not there. And the seeds of past impressions are rendered harmless. In that state, only the consciousness is there and nothing else. Once that is achieved, I liken that to the ka. Once that is achieved, the individual is completely liberated and there's no more coming into the world and getting tossed. Although you appear to be in the world, then you are not involved. Having achieved this, the world is a shadow from which you are completely free. And that is what is meant by a liberated person. It is not that a liberated person just goes away from the world. He or she is called a Jivan Mukta, one who lives but at the same time is liberated. So first, you must understand the nature completely, then bring it under your control, and then push it aside and get liberated. Sometimes people try to renounce the world by retiring to a forest or a cave, thinking that otherwise they will get caught. But such people can never be free from the nature. They can never hide anywhere. Wherever they go, nature will follow. There is no other way except to understand it, handle it properly, and rise above it. That's why Samdhi, with all of its 4 varieties, should be practiced. Then you can easily understand, because you understand all the things it just said, called the prakriti. You can brush it aside and turn to see yourself. You understand yourself to be the pure self, or the Purusa, which seemed to have been entangled in the Prakti and is now finally free. That is saying exactly what I just finished saying to you. Some people, yes, and go in my bio, my Amazon storefront, it's there, get it from me. This is the practice of yoga. Okay, so some people see yoga as just as stretching. It's not. It's a spiritual practice, right? And so if you want to practice yoga, right, you got to apply some of these spiritual practices here, which means stop attaching yourself to ideas and frivolous thoughts and stop taking them in. And we studied this book also in my mentorship program. You gotta stop if you want to ascend. Otherwise, you're gonna stay on a certain vibration, grappling with the same things over and over again, because the same things are inside of you. You want to be liberated from the things that have accumulated, right? The programs, the ways of thinking. I'm telling you, the quickest way to start this is to stop taking in what you normally take in. That's the quickest way to begin that process, right? So if you normally read a certain thing, maybe say the news, and when you read the news, you go into a program with the news that you read. You want to change that program, stop reading the news. Start reading this. You want to think like a person that allows a bee to crawl on their hand? Well, get into the mind of that person. Go read about beekeepers or something like that. Take their perspectives. You want to be not easily bothered by other people, and you want to stop being so reactive? Then get into the mind of people who are where you want to be and surround yourself with people who are going there. That's why I form the groups that I have, so there can be like minds. That's why I join groups that I join, for like-mindedness. You can't get away from everyone, just like I can't get away from bees. It's part of this reality. But if you want to be liberated from suffering and fear, you're going to have to take a different path, not immerse yourself in the same path. Okay? That's the Yoga Sutras right here. I can read to you, hey Jan, I can read to you from my book. I can read to you from the Bible. I can read to you from the Yoga Sutras. How much more seed planting needs to happen for you to take this and start nourishing it? To take that and walk away from this live inspired to be something different or take something differently. Not condemned, like, ooh, that's me. Inspired. You really feel loved when you, ashe, because it is love, William. Yes. Let me tell you, the deep longing of the human soul is significance. Yes, the deepest longing in the human soul is significance. That's a byproduct of the ego. That's not a bad thing. The problem is when you don't understand your own significance and you want others to. That's a lesson I've had to learn in my life. You're fussing about who don't see you as important, who doesn't hear you, who doesn't come around, who doesn't whatever. But you're feeling bad every time you think about that. And you don't care that you feel bad. You still keep thinking it. You don't attend to yourself. And I'm not talking about some clever cliche or spiritual bypassing. I'm talking about the real deal. If you keep talking to someone who is, as they say, committed to not understanding, you're not taking care of yourself. If you keep trying to prove to someone who believes otherwise about you, you're not taking care of yourself. That's not the best expenditure of your energy. Maybe you have someone in your life who loves you, but they're not doing something that you think they should. Maybe you need to revisit that belief system. Maybe it needs to shift. I don't know. Maybe you need to get around like minds. I don't know. But one thing is not to sit there and complain. One thing to not do is to sit there fussing about them to everyone who will listen. One thing to not do is villainize other people. One thing to do is to ask yourself, what do you need, and do it. And if you can't do it right away, get some help so you can do it. And if you can't do it right away, get some support. But thinking in disempowered cycles is keeping you in what you don't want to be in. And therefore, you're not listening to yourself or valuing your own energy. You could be around some people who really want to hear what you have to say. You know there's plenty of them, right? Do you know that? There's some people who would love to have a conversation with you or sit in your presence. Do you know that? Do you love the presence that you are? Do you love the mind that you have? Or do you get to a point where you get so busy all over the place, distracted, so you don't have to experience what's going on in you? These are good questions. Be led by spirit today. What y'all saying before I go? What y'all got to say? I think that was a good word. That was good for me. This morning, so I had this dream last night, And then this morning I woke up with the revelation of it. And I discovered areas where I could be more liberated. I want it. Liberation is creativity. Liberation is space. Liberation is empowerment. I want it. I'm not so attached to think of something in a painful way that I will keep myself bound to it. I don't need it that bad. Now, at some points in my life I did, and that's what I did. I held on to it. I would say someone is, what would I say? Some common word, selfish. Someone is selfish. And someone could have walked up to me and said, oh no, that's not a selfish person. That person is actually beautiful. That person is abundant. And I would be so attached to seeing them a certain way that I would get mad at the person for saying that. You don't know. You haven't experienced what I've experienced. Rather than saying, you know what, that person isn't only what I have experienced, and they're probably not even what I experienced because of the way I see the world. The person is also that. So I don't have to pigeonhole them like this, like you don't want to be, like I don't want to be pigeonholed. Yet we walk around pigeonholing everyone else. And so I would have got mad at the person who said that. And I would have tried to prove my case and given examples of how they've been selfish to me. And the person may or may not have cared. They might have been like, well, yeah, that is pretty selfish, but still, they was nice to me. Remember times where someone wanted you to think ill of someone, and you said, I hear what you're saying, but they've been kind to me. They've been good to me. So I hear your experience, but they've been good to me. And a person got upset. Think about that, right? So even in that, realize that nobody is exactly what you see. They're all of that, some of that, none of that as well. And the same with you. Some people have had some experiences with you. And it's time to really look at that, because you've been turning your head. You think that people have been a certain way with you without a cause. You think that. So what's about to come forward is for a certain kind of person. Some of the hard relationships you have, some of them. And I'm saying some so you could calm down a little bit to hear what I'm saying for no reason. Just because you don't know why they acted like that doesn't mean it's for no reason. Because sometimes you had an energy about you and you felt justified by that energy, and they reacted with an energy. Sometimes. Sometimes you have been the one who refused to see. It's not just other people, it's you too. Sometimes you have been so attached to suffering that someone tried to explain something to you and you still held the same narrative. Sometimes you've been the one committed to not understanding. Sometimes you've been the one wanting someone to dim their light. Yes? Now we got to be honest here. Because I definitely have been that person. And I don't want you to take a distant stance from it. Don't act like that was 40 years ago and you don't do that anymore. I want you to think about a time 2 weeks ago when you were like that. And so you might say, well, I haven't done that. There's a scripture where Jesus said it's not really about what you're doing. You said committing adultery is a sin. But I'm telling you, if you even think it, you already done it. Is this condemnation? No, this is radical self-reflection. You haven't liked that a person made a decision for themselves and you wanted them to make another decision, and so you villainized them. These are the spaces that need liberation. I'm just telling you. Now you do what you want with that. You have some kind of toxic or dysfunctional connection with someone and you just want to look at them a particular way. They do this and they do that and they're just like that and they da 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 da. But how are you like them right now? Not how you used to be like them. How are you like them right now? What residue is still in there? Because sometimes it feels good to say, oh yeah, when I was younger, I used to do that. But you still be doing some of this stuff. Because if you're not intentional about this, you be doing it unaware. And I'm saying be doing it. Because you do. You don't even know. You ever had a conversation with a person and they saw things a little different than you did, and they started telling you, well, I think you could have done this and that. You got really upset with them. And then later on, you went and thought about it after you calmed down, and then you were like, yeah, I could have handled that a different way. You could have had liberation in that moment. Right. You laughing. Right. We could have liberation in that moment if we just settle down and come out of this ego stance, right? And realize that some information is coming to me.